I got the worst count-in I've ever had in 3 different languages. I don't know what's happening.
It was also by 2 different people.
That didn't help. But we are live, apparently, on location.
Yeah.
We're in Riverside Park on a beautiful, hot July day here in Kamloops. And we're checking out the local Amtgard group. Is it called a group? How would you define it?
So Amtgard is a live-action role-play organization. So when you think live-action role, various kind of what we would call the local chapter or park would be kind of the structure as we call it. But yeah, it's a group.
Nice.
A collection of people.
Right.
Yeah.
And
a flock.
A flock. Flock is good. Yeah.
A haggle. A haggle.
A haggle.
A haggle.
A gaggle.
A haggle. A player who lived in Chase came out here basically every weekend. Started the group here. Had a sponsorship from another group in Edmonton that helped us get going, and then the group grew and grew and grew, and we've been here every Saturday ever since. Basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
Same spot here in the park, more or less?
Yeah, same spot here in the park. Sometimes in the winter, when we have 2 or 3 feet of snow on this field, we'll move across over to another area that's typically better plowed.
Right.
But by and large, we've been here, main to the park, even to the point where there's landmarks that we call, and we know for things like if we're designing a game or whatnot, like this big old well over here is the home tree. Yeah, used for various things, respawning, objectives, that sort. The kind of culture of this group on its own is also pretty centralized to Riverside itself. Yeah.
So what does an average meetup kind of look like, or is there such a thing as an average meetup?
Yeah, so what the average kind of park day will look like within Amtgard is typically people will show up whenever they start showing up, and there's kind of 3 major types of activity. So of course, the first and what is sort of my home within Amtgard is the fighting. So people have foam weapons. It's what's called a boffer game. So boffer just refers to padded weapons as opposed to something where you would have the protection worn. Something like if you see like the night fights or fencing, you have the protection worn on yourself.
And you use more of an actual sword in those things.
Yeah. In Amtgard, the weapon itself is the protector.
Got it.
Yeah, so there are standards which weapons are being made. There's a group over here making weapons right now, and they essentially, by and large, amount to a pool noodle on a stick.
Right.
Making weapons out of pool noodles?
Yes. Cool noodles.
Pool noodles.
Cool noodles?
Pool.
Noodles. I think you said cool noodles.
No, but that's a invention. You should copyright that.
Cool noodle.
Cool noodle.
I feel like that's just tonkatsu.
Maybe.
Cold ramen. So there's fighting. The other thing, which is kind of the heart of Amtgard as a whole, is what we refer to as battle gaming.
Okay.
Battle gaming basically amounts to the full game being played out a bit like a hero shooter. So if you think something like Overwatch or Team Fortress as you're playing, where otherwise it would just be, okay, cool, I swing stick better than you, I win. You have people who might not otherwise be that great at fighting directly, but are good at thinking about the sort of gaming and tactics of the situation, being able to have equal effect on the field. So battle gaming there is where we'll set up a field and it'll have objectives. Sometimes that'll be as simple as what we call mutual annihilation, where everyone goes until everyone's dead. Up into things with very complex objectives where you have to take a thing, move it over here, solve a puzzle, do this, that, and the other to get things. But essentially any game mode that you can think of in something like Call of Duty, capture the flag, a search and destroy type thing, a push or pull type objective, is something that will play out through the lens of Amtgard. So through our rule book, we'll end up playing through that kind of game. Yeah.
Now you talked about this idea of like in D&D having these different classes.
Yeah.
How does that actually play out in a live game like that?
So Amtgard has a couple of different types of abilities. So you have, and I should have grabbed a bag of things, but you have essentially things that are magic. So those are ideas that you have like what we call phys rep in LARP, which is a physical representation of something.
Okay.
So an example of that, I've got some in my belt here somewhere. Something like this. These are what are called spell strips, or magic strips in the rulebook, and all these do is show that I have some form of enchantment on me. So one type of magic is something that inherently gives me a buff or a debuff. So a teammate could give me a thing that you don't get to have anything sneaky where you come up to someone, you do a thing, and then they find out you can do it.
Right, okay.
Yeah. There's also what we call verbal magic, whereas I would shout a thing at someone, I identify them somehow, so I call their name or give a couple of like unique characteristics. Wizard in blue. And I could shout something at them. So that, for instance, a relatively standard or typical spell is something called shove. And all shove does wizard in blue, my power shoves you, my power shoves you, my power shoves thee, they just go 20 feet straight back. It pushes them off of something, gets them to move away from your friend that they're trying to kill, that sort of thing. Those are essentially the main types of magic. You got verbals, you got spell balls, that's the one I missed, which is I have a physical representation of that thing, so it'll be a colored ball of some kind. Foam ball, mine are just a loose elastic bands and a bit of fabric. To give them a little bit of weight, but also not knocking people out if I hit them in the chin. And I know it doesn't happen because a friend of mine once square clocked me in the jaw with one of mine.
Wow.
Yeah. So those are things, so you'll have something like, for instance, an ice ball. An ice ball does the thing you expect an ice ball to do. It freezes you in place. So that'll be a white ball. You charge that ball with an incantation, so it gives you a time frame that you have to do. All of the incantations, all the things you have to say, are essentially the same idea as rolling your dice in D&D. They're our drama system. If someone goes and charges at you, you can't just point at them and make a thing happen, because then you always get it right.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like you just have a dice that has 20s on all sides. So if you have to charge that spell ball, you can't just whip it off your belt at any time and throw it. You have to say the thing that makes your ball work, and then you can throw it. Or say the thing fast enough so the barbarian charging you actually takes the effect that you try to get off on
Before
first.
he can get to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So some abilities are things that are affected by you in your fighting, so there's stuff like you could break shield, break armor, that sort of thing. And then other things are more of kind of like the standard magic, lightning bolt, fireball, that sort of idea as well. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, for a new person, and I'm
Like
sure...
a baby?
Yes.
A fresh person.
A fresh baby.
If a fresh baby came out and wanted to participate,
That would be
what class would
suspicious.
you recommend? No.
Sort of a couple of different...
for new people coming out.
Yes.
It's handy because
For
we're right by
new,
the hospital.
new
That is very convenient.
grown
for us.
up, mature people who
Oh.
are not babies.
So a slightly less fresh
I get it
baby.
now.
Yeah.
Yes.
If they wanted to come out and just get involved, check it out, what does the entry for that look like? Is there a period where they can kind of just watch?
Yeah.
How do they get intaken?
hazing
Is there a hazing?
Not anymore.
What?
So, that was a bit of a joke on a conversation we were having off camera earlier. But I'll get back to that because it is fun. So, essentially, there are a couple of different things. One, Amtgard on its own, and one of the things that's sort of special about it, is that it is entirely free to participate. So you can show up and you can walk in, and normally a group, wherever you are, because there are groups all across North America. The game was started in Texas and it's kind of spread out of there. Very popular in the American Midwest for whatever reason. But you can come out and play at any time, and most parks will have some degree of loaner equipment, so some weapons that you can come up and use. There'll be sashes. We use sashes to denote what class we're playing. Again, an open information game, so if I look at someone on the other side of the field, I can go, that's a wizard, that's a monk, whatever they are. As far as like the actual like first class that you play, of course, the short answer is if you see a thing and you go like, I always play a wizard in D&D, I want to play a wizard, look in the rulebook and figure out how wizard works. It's not that complicated at your kind of first level. Outside of that, if you're looking at coming down, you don't really know what to play. If you're researching beforehand, just look through the rulebook and see what looks cool. That's, of course, the biggest thing, is play the game you want to play in any sort. If you have a D&D party that ever says, no, you're playing a healer, you're playing our paladin, why? That's not the point. Find the thing that, play your Amtgard. Yeah. If you still look at that and go, I'm just not really sure, like all these things look like kind of cool, but I'm sort of uncomfortable with the idea of stepping in too deep. There's a couple of classes that make you have to pay attention to less. So Barbarian has a couple of immunities from different schools of magic. So in the same kind of idea as like D&D resistance and immunities, or a really good representation is actually Skyrim. Skyrim has its schools in magic, and you can have different traits and different buffs and debuffs to those things. Barbarian has immunity to a couple of different schools of magic, so you can hear a thing in the incant and go, I don't have to listen to you anymore. Monk gets immunity to all verbal magic, so if someone yells something funny at you, you look at them and go, never mind. Then there's like Scout, which Scout's a really kind of cool class for new people because it gives them a little bit of a toe dip into the magic system as well. But without the complexity that comes with playing a magic class.
Okay.
A little bit of background there. All of our martial classes, so our warrior, assassin, those kind of things, come with a pre-built set of abilities. So a warrior at level 1 will always have the same things that any other warrior at level 1 has. Where if I take a druid or a wizard, they have a point-buy system for their abilities.
Okay.
So they look at a sheet of spells relating to their level, and they go, I want 1 of these, 2 of those, 3 of these. And you go look across the field, and you're not entirely sure what that druid's going to have on you. They're going to have somewhere around the same theme. Have a pre-built set of things, but you also get to engage in magic, which is a lot of fun. A lot of people really like Scout for new people. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Speaking of the rule book you mentioned, is that something that people can access online fairly easily?
Yes.
Or?
So just amtgard.org. Looking up Amtgard, or another really valuable resource is Come Try LARP. So Come Try LARP is a website that's a directory for basically every sword-adjacent activity in North America. It's a really cool project put on by a guy, an Amtgarder, who potentially has one of the most brilliant persona names. So his real name, his mundane name, is Dyer Barker.
It's pretty non-mundane, I would say.
Yeah, it's a really
mundane name goes. It's a pretty
solid one.
Yeah.
His Amtgard name is Hogbert Manuel.
Okay, that's
Hogman.
Less.
What's your name?
My first and last name in the real world is Jed McMillan,
Yes.
and I've been participating in sword-adjacent activity for nearly 10 years now. My persona name within Amtgard, pending because I made it when I was about 14 and may change it at some point, is Solomon Rom. So Solomon is
Ooh,
a
I like
reference
that.
is a reference to Solomon Kame. Rom is a reference to one of the demons in Goetia, because I was super interested in occult theory and literature at that point in my life. So I might change it at some point to something that more fits me now, but that is my name at fold. So persona names in Amtgard are... so live action roleplay has a kind of a spectrum to it. So you have games that are a lot more live action and games that are a lot more roleplay. So Amtgard falls very firmly on the live action side. Where for the better portion of play, we can be best described as a medieval themed sport that operates within a sort of fantasy setting.
Okay.
That said, most people within Amtgard do go by their persona name at the very least for the primary part of their play. But unlike, for instance, there's a game in Duncan on the island called Medieval Chaos, and that's what we refer to as a full dive LARP. So full dive LARP means you enter the gates to Dagger's Deep. They have a full site that they play in, and you are in character the whole weekend.
Wow.
I would walk in and I would be Solomon Rom.
Cool.
There's no discussion as to what our day-to-day jobs are or what's going on at work and my relationships outside of this. Hey, do you know of a good accountant? No, Dagger's Deep is all in all the time, where
Right.
Amtgard is far more of almost sort of a medieval themed rugby type setting, where we've got kind of our play names a good portion of the time. There are events and times in the game that there is a lot more role play. But for most of the time in Amtgard, it's definitely far more live action than it is role play.
Now, when it comes to, you said like there are more events that are more dedicated to role play. Do you guys here ever do those sorts of events, or is
Yes.
that sort of part of a bigger thing you'd go to?
Yeah. So most chapters are most kind of up, I believe, on 7th to 9th this year. But that event is set up to be more of what we refer to as questing. So we have the rulebook for Amtgard, and we make slight modifications to it to make a quest happen, to follow a storyline.
Okay.
So there will be kind of objectives within. But yeah, so there are events that we put on locally. There are, again, also events kind of nationwide. There's a notable event kind of in the history of Amtgard. It's not put on anymore, and it was put on a previous version of the game called Knoblander, which was named, I believe, after a classic D&D module. But the thing with that one is it was set up to be a 72-hour all-in roleplay game.
Right.
Yeah, and that one is fondly remembered by a lot of old-time players in the game as being one of the best events they've ever attended. Omens is sort of following that theme of being all game all the time, but not with the crazy level of organization that one required, or something like Medieval Chaos does.
So now that we're talking about Omens, would that be a good or a bad place for somebody who's curious about Amtgard to come and look at, or they would not be even not really even for them?
By and large, Amtgard events are mostly you can show up and play at some level. So it's not like, for instance, if you are going to, say you wanted to play soccer, you're not going to start off playing soccer at the provincial level.
Yeah.
Because it is all competitive all the time. Most of Amtgard is played outside of a competitive sphere. So if you show up and you're like, I would like to try this out, One, you're probably better off starting at your local park because more people are going to have more time to help you because you're not interfering with their game.
Sure.
But something like Omens or a larger event is definitely a great way to just kind of go all in if you feel like going all in. You look up a couple of videos, you read the rulebook and go, this is super rad, I want to see what it's all about. Events are what Amtgard is all about, same as various other kind of nerd activities. If I want to go to a sword fighting event, I'm just going to go to a sword fighting event because that's where the fun is, that's where the big stuff is. So within Amtgard, you'll have all of the stuff that is the game and things like arts and sciences. So sort of you make things, you build things, you write things. You can enter them into a field to have them judged and compete with those as well, or just kind of the campfire time, nightlife, all that sort of stuff that comes up within an overnight event.
For sure, that's a valid point. So then, do you guys have like regular set dates that you're here so that people can know like first whatever of the month, that was when they can come and look, or is there a calendar online?
So the vast majority of Parks with Amtgard and most of this kind of activity, there are other groups, Dagger here, Bellagarth, that are very similar. Not so popular in Canada, but there are very similar groups. They're primarily run just weekly. So if you come to Riverside Park in the main field on a Saturday, noon to 1-ish, there will be people starting to show up for this game. Some weeks are bigger, some weeks are smaller, because again, we just sort of drop in. I'm out of town this weekend, I'm not going to go. Funny that.
And then how long does it go till? Like 3, 4-ish?
Until people leave.
Bedtime?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
For me, it used to be until I went to swing dance, but then swing dance changed to Fridays. So if you come out to a Saturday, you will be here basically from the time people get here, usually between 12 and 1, and then we kind of go until people have stuff other to do. In sort of the heyday back in when this park was known as Ominous Valley, there was a good portion of the time where we'd be here basically till sundown.
It was called Ominous Valley?
Yeah, it was called Ominous Valley. It was super edgy.
I didn't know that.
River Watch is a lot more fun, a lot more friendly, significantly less nerd kid.
and I think less intimidating for people to come to.
Yeah, you come to the Barony of Riverwatch, or the Duchy now of Riverwatch, and that sounds good. It sounds inviting.
Yeah.
Ominous Valley sounds like I'm going to be roasted at a Magic the Gathering tournament.
Exactly. So how did you get involved with this?
I was walking this stretch of path right here.
You just literally wandered past it?
I literally walked by.
And how long ago was that?
That I started in 2013. I believe, September or August of 2013. Yeah, I started around 10 years ago.
That was a workout, hey?
Yeah.
How do you like it?
Oh, it's great stuff.
Yeah.
There aren't a lot of places where you get to run around, hit your friends, and have fun about it. You can pretend you're Legolas, you can pretend you're Aragorn, and it's all a good time.
People hit their friends all the time. They're just bad people.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is there, I think, is that unless you're a person like me who decided they were going to go off and find hobbies where punching my people in the face was an acceptable form of bonding, most of the time they end up with less friends afterwards.
Fair enough.
But I will, stab my friends with swords, and they still think I'm okay.
And it's a great environment for that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And within that, we spend a lot of time being told that violence isn't the option, isn't the thing, but there is a social space for what violence can be. So I'm doing a thing, and it's very egalitarian because if you walk on the field, everyone kind of knows who's a big dog. And that's not in a way of they have more social or physical power over you, but you can walk in and it's a very comfortable place because there's comfortable hierarchies. It's one of the things that actually makes martial arts a really common thing, and martial arts as it extends even to foam fighting, a really comfortable space for a lot of neurodivergent people. Because you can walk in and everything is very flat, it's very on the table. Where a lot of things, you go to a party, you're not really sure who knows who, what the things are supposed to operate in. A lot of this is very much, I can read the rule book, I know what's going on, I look over there, the guy's got a different belt, I know sort of what he's up to. I can ask and everyone kind of knows where we are socially, which is really cool. That's not to say that it's stratified socially, but it's a really comfortable space because everyone always has an idea of where they are.
Sure.
Yeah.
And something, speaking of, being, welcoming to the neurodivergent.
Yes.
Something else that was mentioned before we started streaming was that it's quite welcoming to the LGBTQ
Absolutely.
community as well.
Yeah. So a big thing, especially in modern Amtgard, as we joke about, and I'm sure a lot of us know that like the whole nerd community has not been nearly as acceptance as it's working towards now.
Sure.
A lot of stuff within Amtgard, as it extends to where we are at its current place, is focused on being welcoming and open. People feel very intimidated when they have to go against 6'4" Brutus over there.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah. Even me, I'm not a very big guy. I get intimidated going against 6'4" Brutus over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a lot of things is very directed. There are things like for Pride Month, I know a number of different parks had contests for making Pride-themed garb, weapons, that sort of thing. One of our people here held a practice session for fighting, and if you attended that practice session, you got a Pride-themed sword cover, which is a lot of fun.
Benefit you think that people can get from a group like this that maybe isn't obvious on the surface?
I think a really big thing with a hobby like this, and this extends to like a more common group, the Society of Creative Anachronism, which is a group that I also used to play in, is that it's a really cool area for what I call sub-hobbying. So we have Amtgard, and Amtgard is the rule book. It is the way that we play the game. But then within that, we have, someone has to make the gear.
Right.
Someone has to make the equipment. Someone has to make the garb. But you're not really sure where to get started. Or you already do something like leatherwork and you want a place to show it off, something like leatherwork, or even things like miniature painting. Sometimes people enter writing into various things when it comes to the game. You like writing quests, or you like DMing for your friends, and you want to write quests. This is a good outlet for that. So there's a lot of ways to play Amtgard, even if, and again, my area primarily is fighting and battle gaming. I really love that.
Yeah.
But even if you aren't going to be primarily participating in fighting and battle gaming, there are a lot of ways to play Amtgard that can suit your needs on your own. It's a very kind of open, design your own game.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You haven't said much. Take the microphone for a bit, and I'm going to go have my beverage.
Okay, have your beverage.
Maybe I should hand off mine and go have my beverage.
Yeah, have your beverage. Have your beverage.
No, I'm kidding.
Well, I have to brew some questions because I've been thinking of. I had things, but then you would kind of.
Yeah,
All right.
Todd.
All right. Can we see an example of a freshly made weapon?
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Here.
Are there different types?
Oh, yes. 1 second.
Jed's grabbing some weapons.
Yes, indeed. And here it comes. With weapons.
I'm on the way, and I'm armed.
Oh, fun! Oh, fun! Okay, wait. We gotta figure out where you. Okay. Just seeing if I'm gonna be in the shot. Okay.
Okay, cool.
So let's see.
Yeah.
My turn.
Okay.
And one of these?
Okay. Or.
Here, hold the thing.
Oh.
Sure. So weapons in Amtgard basically amount, by and large, to pool noodles on a stick. So one of our guys is just running a little kind of class or workshop on making weapons for some of our new people. So this is a sword that is very fresh, like we were talking about the fresh person earlier.
Is it still hot? Not
quite.
to touch. No.
No, it's cooled. It's not that fresh.
Okay.
Yeah, so a weapon in Amtgard pretty much amounts to a pool noodle on a stick. Whoa!
What is that?
Like a little...
It's a little flail. Yeah. This is one of my swords. It's in ye olden days of 2015.
I like this one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's covered in fabric.
Yes, it is. We used to be able to get pool noodle that just naturally matched our needs. So some of the qualifications within Amtgard is that across the tip you must reach 2.5 inches. The theory being that it's larger than your orbital. So between your cheekbone and your brow. Yeah.
Oh.
Even something
It would
soft like that.
To cut out their foam. And we still do that now, but I think that actually had a relationship to the rules.
I thought you would say they'd put cans in a sock, and that's what they used.
Twang!
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, so that's good. And the other thing is that you have to have a minimum inch of foam depth. So a standard, what we call like a sword fry or sword foam in Amtgard now has a 1/2 inch hole to stick whatever core you have in. For instance, this one that I'm currently holding has a graphite golf shaft as the core. Nice. Yeah. Some other common cores, a lot of newer people use PVC. PVC is heavy and it breaks fairly quickly. They'll use bamboo. Bamboo is a lot lighter, but it also isn't quite as durable. Not really, because it's covered in an inch of foam.
Oh.
And then kind of the step above that is using thrift store golf clubs. So you find the non-metallic golf shaft. They're very, very strong. You chop the head off, you stick some foam on them, and you've basically got a sword. In the old days, we used to be able to get pool noodle, even just from the dollar store, that fit our needs naturally. A thing that you may or may not be able to see about this particular sword is that it's an octagon.
Kind of vaguely see that.
Yeah, it's got flats. Yeah. The reason why this sword has flat spots is because now that we can no longer, there was for whatever reason a decline in foam quality.
Do you want your weapon?
That was my weapon. There's a weapon checker.
Oh.
Hey. This is a convenient little tool for being able to check.
Is it dilated?
It is. To be able to check on the fly. If you have, for instance, we have a battle game coming up, a whole bunch of new people show up, or we're at a big event. This is a really convenient way without having to pull out a measuring tape all the time to check, quarters of an inch, and the hole has gone up to an inch. So there's simply less foam per foam.
What's up, pool noodle industry?
Yeah. There is a rumor that they actually directly responded to games like Amtgard, Dagger here, Belagar.
Crazy.
I haven't seen any primary source material for that, but it's a really fun story to avoid liability in the States where people are very sue happy over you hit me with faulty pool noodle.
That's fair. Actually.
Yeah. And the pool
bummer.
noodle, the pool noodle company goes, that is entirely outside of our use case.
Yeah.
But yeah, so foam like this is actually made by people within the game for the game itself. So there's a fella, I believe this guy is in Michigan, and he produces foam for the game on its own.
Wow.
The aforementioned Hogman, Dara Barker from Come Trial Art, also has a company where he manufactures stick foam for the game to fit our needs kind of as they are, so that we're not doing a whole bunch of finicky foam work to just make a stick. The other thing that I brought over, mostly for just kind of general demonstration, is this.
That looks fun.
It is a lot of fun. It's gloriously fun. The sillier you can get, the better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
This is what we would refer to in the rulebook as a hinged weapon, colloquially just a flail. And this is mostly just to illustrate that there are several different types of weapon, and that it's not all just wacky bats. They don't all just look like that. There's all sorts of different things that you can play with. So
Looks like a cat toy.
A bit, yes, it could be. My cats don't particularly like toys, but if they did, I'm sure this would look great. It's not.
Do you guys ever go on field trips?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, where?
Yeah. So, in the olden days, when Riverwatch was a bit more active, we would occasionally do park raids. And that was also when we had a couple of more parks relatively local. So there was a park in Kelowna for a while, some things like that. I know some people are looking at starting a park in Penticton. So if you happen to be down that way, shoot a message to the Riverwatch Facebook page and we put you up with them. But even I've got a friend that lives in Vancouver. Every once in a while, I'll go down and just spend the night at their place and go to the park down there on a Sunday.
Like Stanley Park?
They are in Burnaby. I don't know. I think they're in Cameron Park in Burnaby.
Oh, okay.
And that is the group Seaside Keep. So all the different chapters have different funny names. Seaside Keep meets on Sundays, which means it's convenient because I could go from here, go there on a Sunday, and make it there in time for their park.
How are other groups different from yours? Or are they any different?
Yeah, so a lot of different parks have different sort of focuses. So Riverwatch, especially based on where it sort of came from, is very fighting focused. We have a lot of people that were really pursuing getting better at their direct stick work, a lot of people that are really good at battle gaming. Where there are other parks in other places, a good example being actually Seaside Keep, that they're a lot more interested in things like questing. So they have a lot more going on in sort of their kind of written roleplay community. So they'll write quests, they'll have quests that overarch a couple of weeks, that sort of thing. You've then, of course, also got parks that are really game within that too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
Yeah.
The heat's getting to me. I had another one, and I forgot it.
Keyword
I had.
Yeah.
It's almost time to start anyway, isn't it?
It should be.
We're getting into vamping position because we're expecting the tournament to start.
So do they have to stretch? Do you guys stretch before?
I do. Not everyone does. That's another thing, a convenient little vamp there, is when it comes to things like stretching, is that there's a lot of opportunity within Amtgard, especially being a game that is composed primarily of things like foam weapons, for people that might be less interested in participating in another martial activity. So I run a fencing school in town. I run a sword fighting school. I do what's called HEMA, or Historical European Martial Arts. We wear our protective gear.
We did that. I did that.
Did you?
You did that?
In Vernon.
Oh, with Mike.
Yes.
Yeah, Mike Banyan. Yeah, he's a good friend of mine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, Grandpa Mike. With sword fighters.
HEMA,
Yeah, I've known him for a long time. He's a great guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And Thirsty, Mike Larner. They've got too many Mikes.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Mild aside there, because it's a phenomenal story. There's a HEMA event in Seattle called Sword Squatch. HEMA, another great inclusive activity.
I remember them talking about that. Yes.
Sword Squatch has about 12 Michaels of varying degree that participate in that event every year. There is a tournament.
Next level of Michael.
You're just a Mike.
You're just an entry level
Not
Mike.
the-
That's the peak Michael.
Yeah.
The king of Michael's there.
Yeah, the king of Michaels.
The hee.
That was terrifying.
Thank you.
Thirsty. Mike Larner has won their right of Mike Lord several times. He's a lovely man. But yeah, I run a fencing school, and that has steel weapons, things like grappling, so we throw each other around a bunch.
Where do you get the steel weapons from?
Well, I just take them without asking, and then they become steel weapons.
Bada bing.
Ba-dum-ts. 2 drums and a snake fall off a
'Cause
cliff. Ba-dum-ts.
That must be, a little pricey.
It can be. There's definitely more accessible levels. Essentially, a sword costs what you want to pay for it. There's the cheapest things that you can purchase, and it goes up from there. My fencing instructor has, and given this is not a piece of sparring equipment, are specifically HEMA equipment companies.
My dad, he went through a phase where he made a lot of knives, and I've always wanted him to make a sword.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's...
Yes.
Maybe I'll ask
There's
him.
a lot of...
He also, you test to see how hard you can hit.
That's what we refer to as calibration within HEMA. Which is fun because there's a system of calibration that actually directly disseminates from my fencing instructor to the broader sword world that we're very proud of. But there's a lot more force within that sport. So people get hit harder. They don't get injured more often, but they get hurt more often. Of course, the difference between getting hurt and getting injured is I get hurt, I go, my arm, that kind of sucks.
You pull a muscle.
That'd be getting injured. I hurt my arm and I get hit in the arm, I go, ow, that sucks. I'm going to go sit off for a while and I probably come back before the end of class. Getting injured is something that takes me off of field for an extended period of time. So I pull a hamstring, I break a finger, that sort of thing. There's not a greater degree of injuries within HEMA, but there's a greater degree of general discomfort because, you're having a steel bar swung at your head. Funny that. So Amtgard is a really good place, and Boffer Combat in general is a really good spot for people who might not be interested in the discomfort that comes with a fuller contact game. So something like HEMA, or then of course at the very top end you've got the night fights we see going viral on Facebook every couple of weeks, which is what we call Brohurt or IMCF, the International Medieval Combat Federation. Which is definitely ramped right up to 35 on your volume. It's fairly casual, but a bit lower entry.
What do you think it is that every time you hear that soccer ball getting kicked, I'm expecting it to fly at my head?
Duck, where?
What do you think it is that draws people to stuff like this?
So I think there's a couple of different things. So for me, when I started, my big thing is I'm a massive history buff. Mm-hmm. I've got the better portion of a history degree, and then I went off, and now I work in the environmental industry. Weird. So I'm a massive history buff. I was that kid that grew up playing pirates, playing knights, and never really got over it. And that was the big thing for me, is that I went through as I got on in years and was like, I want to do that. Then I happened to stumble across Amtgard and went, that's the closest thing I've yet seen to the things I want to do. I want to live that out, being a pirate, being a musketeer, being a knight, and having that. We originally met in a theater context, I think.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. I've known him for actually quite a long time.
Yeah.
We just kind of like
we drift in and out of circles. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Love. Oh well.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's the ginger thing. Drift in and out of Freckle.
But it's really good that you keep in touch. I think we all should keep in touch with our inner child.
Yes.
I just kept in touch in
bratty little.
A fun thing there as well.
Mine's the empty one.
They're both empty.
Well, then that doesn't matter which one's yours, does it?
a fun little thing there, and I've been involved in theater since I was a kid, and that was another thing that kind of, again, sort of a thing that led me to theater as well. Entire acting career to playing make believe in a castle near where I grew up. And that's sort of the same idea, is that like you spend enough time playing pirates, and eventually you're just gonna I kind of just want to play pirate. It's a good time. It's a lot of fun.
I usually play drunk girl at party.
Is that acting though? It's very method.
The only difference between that and a pirate is whether you're a party pirate.
That'll do. Yeah,
I'll drink rum and shout "yar" wherever you are, and you're practically a pirate.
Oh,
not that we're condoning, alcohol
or piracy
or anything.
I mean, kind of condoning piracy. It's all right.
We condone pretend piracy, not
they're doing
real.
a chant. Why are they doing a chant? What's that about?
I don't know.
Getting ready.
You don't know.
I wasn't involved in the yelling.
I'm gonna just with the camera.
Sure. You do that.
Ever so quickly, though.
Yeah, you do you.
I'm just trying to avoid. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're on a bit of a hill there.
A mound, if you will.
Sorry.
By the looks of it, you won't, so that's cool.
This is. Are we good now?
Good. Another big thing for a lot of people within Amtgard in particular is that they're gamers. So they're people that really like. There's a lot of video game people, and then they get sort of the opportunity to apply the same kind of ideas of playing video games. So like classes and whatnot, they're figuring out what the best way to win the quest is.
And like you said, too, a lot of the type of games you play are similar to games that you would maybe play in Call of Duty, like Capture the Flag and stuff like that. So they can bring strategies from those experiences to it as well.
Yeah. And then, of course, on the sort of latter part of that is people that are just in it for the make-believe on its own. But yeah, so essentially, again, it always comes back to the idea of you can play your own Amtgard. There's always something that you could do if you wanted to do it. People are interested in making armor. There's people that make armor. You're interested in chainmail. You're interested in sewing. There's all these different things that you can kind of get into and play your own game. Yeah. What are the names? Flowbojan Thunderhammer, Teflon Frosthammer, and Cabbage Tidehammer.
That's a good name.
Yeah. They're good. And for instance, Teflon. When Teflon started playing, he didn't have a name for quite a while. So he was standing in the line waiting for a battle game, and someone asked what his name was. And he says, I don't really have one yet. Nothing's quite stuck. And some guy, I always imagine this being...
Teflon non-stick.
Yes. I always imagine this being a very Scooby-Doo moment with speaking out from down the line there. Someone goes, oh, like Teflon. And he's been Teflon for his 20 years in the game.
Right.
That's hilarious.
Stuff like that. There's a really strong tradition in some areas of having a name assigned to you, which I think that would be super rad.
It is an interesting idea.
Yeah. Cabbage, I can't remember what the reference is, but it's like tiny little cabbage hands, which is a reference to a movie, I believe. There's a guy whose name is Subway in that area as well. Yeah.
Neat.
Yes.
Yeah. About 12 minutes.
Yeah. I remember those at like birthday parties.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever went to a birthday party with one of those. I've always felt left out.
One. Yeah, that's disappointing.
Maybe I don't
think I have
my next
actually.
birthday with a big old 6-foot sandwich all by myself.
No
one's invited. It's my sandwich.
It's my sandwich. Remember the $5 footlong was $5. Another really good.
The $5 footlong would be only $5. It's not a $5 footlong.
But they no longer sell the $5 footlong.
That's because it would cost more than $5 now.
Yes, which is unfortunate.
What up, Subway?
Yeah, what up, Subway? Yeah, that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Sir Death Lily Megatron Sunshine.
That's amazing.
It's a good one. Yeah, and his name got assigned to him when he started, and at some point in the day, he was wearing like a yellow tunic. So someone decided his name was going to be Lily or Sunshine, and he basically went, "Why not both?"
Right.
Not knowing just how much the game was going to be a part of his life for the next 20 some odd years. Our local champion right now. So the champion is the person that designs the fund. They design the park day. He's Runebeard, which I believe was a World of Warcraft handle, but he's got a big old bushy beard, and he now has no way to remove the beard because his name is Beard.
I'd probably go with...
I dig it. Yeah.
What about you, Kelsey?
Yeah.
I am... You will find out. You must wait, though. It's the end of the episode.
After these short messages.
Oh no, okay.
Yeah.
Today's episode brought to you by Patience.
Probably not Subway.
Or pool noodles.
Yeah, pool noodles
are weirdly thin now.
Yeah.
But isn't that unsafe for kids? You know, like.
I think as long as it floats.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing.
All right.
For whatever reason, there was a decline in foam quality, and this is just a
like
general
a global
thing.
problem with foam production.
Yeah, like I gather it's just because people figured they could make the things lighter,
Does foam
cheaper.
occur naturally? Foam is like entirely man-made, right?
Yeah, unless you're going to like sea sponges and whatnot.
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
foam made from processing sea sponges?
Ooh.
Have you had sea
SpongeBob sword foam.
candy before?
Yeah.
I think I have.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just baking soda and sugar. Most of the time with honey.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I got all that at home.
Hey.
Yeah.
No, dates.
Dates, right, sorry, dates.
I also have a calendar.
All right, well.
So is this your costume for the day?
Yeah, so this is a kind of very standard summer apparel for me.
Yeah.
The very light natural fiber shirt, and today it's cargo pants because I couldn't find my standard gar pants. No. Well, these are like, again, getting into the fact that I'm in our sun and our summers, and then something light enough to keep me cool. So that's essentially like my first garb consideration is keeping the sun off, keeping me as essentially relatively cool as I can. While still having a general enough fantasy vibe.
Yeah.
I've been theater long enough, I have enough costume stuff lying around, I can universally make that happen pretty easily. And then we've got, of course, different just things like a pair of gloves for fighting, belt, clippy things for attaching various things. Yeah, there's all that. Yeah.
We got about 10 minutes.
Sure. What time is it?
It's about
I'll check my sundial right now.
Half past freckle.
Oh, okay. I don't need
I believe
to
it's
check my sundial
just about 2
anymore.
o'clock. And we started at 1:07.
I like your necklace. Is there a story to that?
Not especially, no. I found it one day in my room. I believe I got it at Penny Pinchers.
That is a special story. I think, yes. That's worth.
Really sure what the plan was there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there
It does look intense over there.
Yeah.
Everyone's ears are out and listening.
pointed.
Pointed,
Yes.
yeah.
Waiting to pummel each other with pommels. Pummel and flail and bat. And
Uh-huh.
Are we able to join?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
are you going to get in there and throw some stick?
I don't know.
Right.
Maybe. I don't know. Now I'm nervous. I'm scared. I'd rather use a real sword.
That's
Less
fair.
scary to
I
me for some
understand.
reason. It is.
You were pretty good with that.
Yeah, I was.
yeah.
Yeah. TELUS didn't like it though.
Oh.
It's like,
Well, TELUS's only concern was like there was no like waiver for like if she got hurt.
or I heard a guy.
Oh, you hurt a guy. I think that was actually TELUS's concern. They, didn't,
almost
they cared less
sliced his
about you.
head off.
They were concerned about you hurting somebody and then TELUS getting sued. I think was their biggest
Right,
concern.
so-
which, hey, valid.
Canyon, where's your waiver?
Right.
Yeah. So this is definitely safer as far as TELUS is concerned. So if you wanted to, although with your luck, you'd probably kill somebody even with a foam bat.
no.
fair.
No.
What?
I don't know.
Man. Rude.
I've heard of very, very few serious injuries happen within Amtgard.
Oh, it has happened though, eh?
Yeah, well, every once in a while, like essentially the primary thing that'll happen is someone gets hit in the head with something. So, especially because we have, like, the weapons do extend all the way up to things like what we refer to as pole arms or pole weapons. So those will be on a great big stick. And sometimes someone steps in on a thing and they get hit in the head with the stick. Or a piece of foam wears out. It was good before it got on the field. It wore out while it was on the field. You get whacked with it and you just got what we call cord. So you got hit with the bamboo whatever on the inside. And that just kind
ow.
of stuck. That just kind of sucks most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so it has happened. People, twist an ankle every now and again. Yeah. Yeah, but that's essentially like the main part. Serious injuries are incredibly rare. No. Even actually in things like HEMA, in like steel sword fighting, we don't get a lot of serious injuries. A lot of the stuff that was stories of serious injuries were back in the days when we didn't have proper protective equipment because people didn't make it yet. Yeah, in fact, there's only one serious injury within HEMA that I know of since we've had proper protective gear.
happened?
What happened, and this was a big story. There was a club in the States, and this is the thing. This happened because of some not necessarily questionable, but some inconsideration of choices by an instructor. So it didn't happen on account of protection equipment because there was no protection equipment being worn. Yes.
Negligence.
Yeah, primarily.
Huh.
I'd say negligence, but most clubs do some level of activity without loads of protective gear on at all times. So
Right.
even within my club, we'll be practicing movements and whatnot. We'll be doing an action. We'll be doing something. I need to be able to stop that thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of
Yes.
times when people train in protective gear all the time, they don't have a good way of gauging their force.
True.
Yeah. So there was a club that no longer exists, but used to, that had a major problem with controlling its force, and they would hurt people. And people would go, "You cannot do that." And a lot of their people would go, "But I train this way all the time." And it's like, that's great that you train that way. You're not fighting my guys.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's good to have that kind of,
Yeah.
of safety in these groups so that people, when they come out,
Exactly.
can know that the likelihood of them getting injured is dramatically
very,
low.
very
Yeah.
low. Yeah. And what happened with that one incident within HEMA was an instructor was demonstrating with a relatively new participant, and their newer students moved some way they weren't expecting, and they basically ended up taking a sword in the eye. And that really sucked. It wasn't a very good situation for anyone involved. The club got sued. This person walked away with some serious life-altering injuries, and that sucks. But again, it's the only story that has ever happened,
Yeah.
as far as I'm aware, since we've had protective gear. Within Amtgard, I've never heard of an injury like that, but I'm sure some stuff has happened. There cannot be an activity with a 0% injury rate.
Not an activity like this, for sure, yeah.
Well, like, not short of painting. And even then, you're at risk of paper cut. So
Yeah. Narcoleptics falling on the back of their paintbrush, take an eye out.
Yeah. Oh, darn narcoleptics.
Yeah. You can't do anything fun.
Yeah, jeez. Yeah. But yeah, that's essentially like the barrier for injury is very high, but the standard of injury is very low. There's not a whole lot that goes wrong very often within a game like Amtgard, or Swords in general. No.
It'd be pretty impressive if you got really hurt and got sent to the ER from this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just saying, if you want to be impressive,
the way to
you know what to do.
Yeah. I will.
That's what Kelsey's saying.
Yes.
But as an ex-first aid attendant, I would say that the risks of injury will be caused from sun exposure,
Yes.
things dropping on your head
Yeah.
like squirrels,
Yeah.
dropping nuts, or sticks.
Meteorites.
You can roll your ankle,
Roll your ankle.
twist a bone.
Could get like some grass burn on your arm.
Yeah, pretty much.
You could walk into people's elbows.
You could walk into people's elbows.
You can run into people's elbows.
Okay, when that happens.
Yeah.
People using their phone and walking into stop signs.
And into you. Yeah. Oh, that was you, wasn't it? Yeah.
Ah, good job.
Bee stings.
Bee stings could happen.
Bee stings are a sure thing to happen. And heat stroke.
I have never been stung by a bee.
Speaking of, if you do participate here and you get too hot, there's a cooling center right at the arena here.
There's also a river. And
There is also a river and a
Yeah.
water park.
Yes.
Although water park, I think, is more geared for kids.
And ice
More geared
cream.
for kids, but there is no barrier to entry for the water park.
Yeah, fair enough.
You picked a really good spot to do this, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
Do people ever get ice cream cones on each other's garb?
I'm sure
there's-
this happened. I've just not witnessed it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You have to add that to the list of serious injuries that could happen.
Yeah.
Ice cream
Brain
cones.
freeze from an ice cream
Yeah.
cone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing worse. Nothing worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tummy ache.
Tummy
'cause you're
ache.
lactose intolerant.
Oh, but the ice cream was too convenient.
Yeah. And sometimes you just gotta ice cream it up.
Yeah.
I don't know where to point the mic. You already have one.
I do already have one.
This fellow has a beautiful feather. What's his name? His character's name?
So his character's name is Ron Fazerwin. Which is a joke. His name is Ron. Yeah. So
I see.
Yeah. The spelling of his name. He basically took the writing conventions of the dragons in the Witcher series. So it's got all sorts of slashes and apostrophes and commas and
That's
whatnot throughout his
funny.
name. And it's a D&D character. He has a character, Ron Fazerwin, who goes by Ron. His name is George.
Okay. It looks
right.
like. Do you need to go and play?
No, I don't. So the tournament today is what we call 5 and under. Amtgard has basically a belt system type thing for fighting. It's not actual belts, but it's the same kind of idea. And I have my 6th Order of the Warrior. The tournament today is for 5 and under, so I'm not eligible for the tournament today.
Okay.
Well, maybe while we watch the tournament, you can provide some commentary on what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
You hang on to this. I'm going to grab the tripod and bring it a little bit closer to the tournament.
Okay, don't trip on weaponry.
I'm not going to do it.
Maybe we should put the weapons away.
Let's get a little closer to
So
the action.
these are spare weapons?
I mean, the naked one isn't mine. The blue ones are mine.
Okay.
Here.
Sorry, I don't
That's okay.
How'd it go over there?
Oh, it's still going fine.
Nice. You guys have fun? Ooh, am I?
You want to be famous?
Always.
Always.
So much fun. I love doing the things.
Same.
It looks like there might be a good spot over by like the power box there. That's like right onto the thing.
I'm not seeing the power box.
It's behind George, like a straight line through the guy with the funny hat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If you're interested, it's your camera. Yeah. There we go. Michael.
This would be the warming up they're doing, stretching.
Yeah, all that jazz.
All that jazz. Stretching and
Some of that soul.
yeah. Flipping swords. So is this initially like a big free for all, or what is this? Kind of
So
look like?
the style of format that we're doing today is what we call a grand melee. So a grand melee is essentially operates like a Pokemon battle. We have the idea of a classic Pokemon game where you walk up, where you're walking around and you make eye contact with someone, and now you're fighting them.
Gotcha.
So grand melee, everyone will kind of hop out in this field area, and pretty much you walk in. As soon as you make eye contact with someone, you look at them and they go fight, and you look back and they go fight, and you go fight them. The person who loses then comes back out to basically a scorekeeper. You tell them who you lost to so they can write down that they have a win. And then you enter back in and the cycle repeats.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Want your water right away?
I like this whole.
Sorry. How dare you put a mic in my face?
I was gonna say I like streaming without being in front of the camera.
It's the best part, isn't it? Yeah. We'll just stand back here and talk.
Yeah.
We're gonna do commentary. You can say things.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go now and I'm gonna.
Kelsey's abandoning the stream to go swimming.
No, not swimming. Play in the
water park.
Oh, sorry.
Now that we've established that there's no barrier to entry.
She needs to prove that there is indeed no barrier to entry at the water park. So
There is no gate. You can enter at any
go
point.
splash with the children.
I just
Yes.
want to show the
The other
kids who's
children.
boss on the playground.
Of course.
That's fair. I understand. That's what I do.
Exactly. And the kids respect you.
Some say fear. I'm going to choose respect. My drink in my left hand and my mic in my right hand. I almost went to drink on my mic.
You'll find out pretty quick you got it wrong.
Yeah.
Mouthful of whatever kind of foam this is.
It's a little dry.
Yeah, exactly. I want to get at least one fight on the stream.
I don't know.
Is this you called it a grand
melee.
grand melee?
Yes.
Is this a common approach for you guys, or
Yeah, it's relatively common. It's not necessarily the standard, but it is relatively common.
yeah?
A very common format would be Well, we just referred to, this is a very common idea in a lot of tournament settings, a more standard idea in tournament settings, is seeding to a top selection of fighters, or a top selection of participants. So we'll have something like a round robin, or some other way of deciding how we seed a top 8, top 5, that sort of thing. So you'd have your quarter, semis, finals, that sort of idea. Double or single elimination, so it can come down to loser's bracket, or just continue up straight into to the top. Within this format, there is even sometimes where they use this format to seed a then top selection of participants, and that's a similar idea. The only thing with the Grand Melee is that this relies on you having an activity that is competitive between a very small group of people at all times.
Right.
So 1 is ideal. You walk in, you look over at someone, and you say, "I'm fighting you now." So it separates it from something like a round robin, where a round robin you can play out over a couple of months if you're doing baseball or whatever.
Gotcha.
Everyone competes against everyone at some point.
What?
Nope.
Yeah, you're well out of the shot.
Yeah, so the Grand Melee is a relatively common competition format. But there are definitely others. We use this to basically give people as much fight time as possible.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course, another thing that will help give people more fight time is starting the fights on time. So that would be really cool too.
Right.
Yeah. Don't worry, we don't just talk. No, we don't just throw shade at pool noodle companies in Subway.
There's more to it than that.
Yeah. There's more to that.
Sometimes they fight.
I'll talk
Rarely,
smack about
apparently,
myself. Hey, you can't beat me. Only I beat me.
What are we? Hour and I can't even read it. Almost. I guess we're not much over an hour yet.
Yep.
Yeah, nothing. Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
You're right. Which you were, by the way. Very good.
I've done it before.
We're still hopeful we'll catch some combat on this stream before it's over.
That'd be ideal.
Riveting.
When you're alone and life is making you lonely, you can always go Riverside.
No, we can't. That's a
to Riverside Park.
it's a licensed song, Kelsey.
To Riverside Park.
The music. You're doing the music. We're gonna get flagged on YouTube. YouTube's gonna pull this stream.
Like a sentence.
I believe the berry is supposed to be under 8 seconds.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think
right.
that's what it's supposed to be.
Well,
No.
I think you may have dodged a bullet then, Kelsey.
Oh.
I know what I did.
Yes, you do. I guess we should have maybe started this stream at 1:30 or even 2.
I guess.
Quarter after, 20 after?
When did we officially start?
1:07.
It's 2:20.
Yeah, so we're at 1:13. This is 1:12 and 33 seconds. Okay, looks like combat is maybe about to begin.
Maybe.
I feel like we have to show some combat on the off chance that someone has stuck around for this entire stream, waiting for this
In
moment.
too deep.
Which, if you are still here, we appreciate it.
Yeah, that's cool.
We appreciate you.
Yeah. You appreciate it.
If you are still around, you're probably Kelsey's grandma. Hi, Kelsey's grandma.
I like Kelsey's grandma. Not my grandma.
Oh, I thought somebody was running to attack someone there. It was almost exciting for a
Should
split
we
second.
talk like sports commentators
Yes,
now?
we should.
Okay.
We should, yeah.
All right.
What's a sport?
This? Life is a sport.
Life is a
Dead.
sport.
Oh, I'm in the loser's bracket.
I thought life was a highway.
Oh, I thought we were on a
My
stairway to
car's
heaven.
broken.
Oh no.
There's a highway and my car's broken. There was a sport and my coach keeps me on the bench.
I'm doing on the bench. I'm just on a stool.
Yes, the other players didn't want you on the bench.
You got benched? Lucky.
I got a stool with one leg shorter than the rest, so it wobbles.
They stuck me in the janitor's closet. You get to watch the game at least.
Oh, why is he blind?
I don't
Is this
know.
like spin the bottle of combat? Oh, all right. People have locked eyes. Combat is beginning.
Yeah, so we'll see an ever-growing stream of people starting to go to where Rin is over there in the blue and pink, and they will be telling the counter, basically who got them, who they lost to.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. As this goes for a couple of minutes, we'll see that line start to sort of form and pile up a little bit back.
Looks like someone's been sent off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our first couple of
Yeah.
defeats.
Yes.
Oh, someone's down on their knees.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have they maybe lost their legs? Have their legs been chopped
Yeah,
off? Is
yeah.
that the thing that happens?
Yeah, the combat system in Amtgard works essentially on a 2-point system. So if you get hit, you have either the limb that you got hit in is no longer usable. So this comes back to sort of the idea of
There's a guy with his arm behind his back there.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Sort of that playing make believe. where you can get hit in the arm and you're not just immediately on the floor looking at your severed hand. Or you get hit in the leg and you can fight on your knees, or what we call post. So post just means I can stand and pivot like you would in basketball.
Okay, sure.
So any limb is basically considered to be 1 hit point. Your torso is 2. You have 2 health points, so you get hit in the torso. Anytime you're dead, or if you get hit in 2 limbs.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Which makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be fighting much after losing 2 limbs.
I don't think I'd be fighting much after losing 1 limb. Polly's Peg Leg Emporium.
Ooh. And so after one particular fight is done and one of the participants has died and left, the person left is now looking for somebody else to make eye contact with. And it's basically going to go down until there's like 2 people left, or
no, not even until there's 2 people left. This is just timed. As soon as you go off and tell the counter who killed you, who you lost to.
Oh, you go back on?
Yeah, you just go right back on. That's one of the fun things with the Grand Melee, is that it gives you the opportunity to just fight and fight and fight.
Right.
Yeah, and a lot of people prefer this to a standard kind of, what we can think of as like our soccer, hockey kind of tournament format. Because
there would be more once you lose, you're out.
Yeah, well, not even once you lose, you're out, but the idea that like I could have a match and then I have 25 minutes till the next one.
Right.
Or in hockey, I've got a couple of weeks until the next one.
Right.
Yeah, so this suits people better who like to kind of get amped and stay amped.
Sure.
Which also makes it more accessible for some people, because dealing with that sort of like amp and crash is hard for a lot of people. Yeah. So yeah, you're essentially working to just get as many wins as you can within the time frame, whatever the count is. Yeah, so you see these people, they went over to talk to Orla, they turn around, they walk back in, and they're looking for someone to fight.
Everyone seems to be having a fun time.
I hope so.
Yeah, that would be the hope, I guess.
That would be the ideal. Yeah. Yeah. Another pretty easy little bit of a like kind of visual shorthand is if you watch anyone and they've got either a hand on their head or the weapon on their head, that's just a short signifier that they're dead, which would mean in the case of something like a battle game, please don't hit me again.
Right.
Or in this, they're walking through the field.
There's 0 point in hitting me, so please don't.
Yeah, please don't. I would appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so Wesley's walking back towards here. He's got his weapon on his head.
Yeah.
That's just a shorthand for I'm dead. I'm not in play right now. In the case of this, it's you're not fighting me at the moment until I come back in.
Gotcha.
Or in the case of something like a battle game, it would be I'm dead. Please don't hit me right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can wrap it up now that we've had a little bit of the tournament here. So thank you so much, Jed, for
absolutely
hanging out with us, telling us all about Amtgard and everything else. Kelsey got up again.
Yes. I don't think.
We have the power.
I don't think they have Wi-Fi there.
We have a MiFi.
Oh, MiFi? They have a Ouija board.
We did not bring one of those. We don't normally require those on our streams.
Oh,
maybe one day.
But there is a big tall pole that conducts energy somehow, and if you stand on the top of that and yell really loud.
Yeah. Let's yell very loud. She is also in Ontario.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Then that won't work.
Hello.
It only works straight up.
Oh. I don't think you just straight up.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Hey.
If not, we'll say goodbye.
No, as far as like shout outs go though, like today just kind of like the organizing team. So we have, you can see on the far side there in the yellow tunic, that is Mark Lester Runebeard, Thoen Runebeard, who is the park champion. So we have varying positions within the local park, and they basically design the fun. So Mark's the park champion. He organizes tournaments, battle games, all that thing throughout the park day. We also have the Monarch, who is Rain Orla over there, sitting with the hat on her chair. Does a lot of like the mundane kind of back end for the parks, all that. There's the managing team here. I'm just kind of general community leadership with connections to all the other groups.
Gotcha.
So the fact that you guys are here is just my fault.
And we're glad. We're glad to be here.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a couple of good shout outs. Outside of that, like I'm a